Cara Dune, I'm over the moon for you. Cara Dune, let me play a tune for you. They did you wrong, but now there's a song.
So Gina Carano was fired back in 2021 from The Mandalorian, where she played Cara Dune. Sometimes I get those names mixed up because Gina Carano, Cara Dune, it all sort of sounds similar. Anyway, she was fired by Disney because of some tweets she made, specifically a tweet comparing the plight of conservatives in America to the plight of Jews in Nazi Germany. That's a bit of a simplification, but that was kind of the gist of it. And I don't think she meant anything anti-Semitic by this. I think it was a stupid tweet. I think that generally speaking, the more politically charged celebrities are on Twitter and online in general, kind of the more unappealing they become, because you're just bound to turn off one group or another. You know, we've seen that with Pedro Pascal, who is overcast for one thing. He's just cast in way too many things, but he's also been very vocal about his political views, and that's turned off a lot of people. Same thing kind of here with his co-star, Gina Carano, who was tweeting about election fraud and kind of like pro-Trump stuff. Like, she's absolutely, I think everybody is perfectly fine and justified in having their political views, but you have to question whether it's exactly smart or wise to do that on Twitter, and potentially not just because you might get fired, although that was the unfortunate outcome of this situation, but because you're going to turn off fans. And really, like, why are we watching Pedro Pascal or Gina Carano or any of these people? It's for the entertainment, not for their politics. And anyways, so Disney fired her, and she ended up suing them, and Elon Musk ended up paying for it. It sort of reminds me of the Hulk Hogan situation with Gawker, when Gawker released leaked the sex tape of Hulk Hogan, and then Peter Thiel, was it Peter Thiel? Anyways, some big old tech billionaire guy ended up paying for that, and I might be mixing up my tech billionaires, but I think it was Peter Thiel. Anyways, oh, by the way, speaking of tech billionaires, my friends and I have this great idea for a new tabletop role-playing game called Tech Lords, where you get to play as all these different, like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Bill Gates and all these different tech bros, and it's like a competitive collectible card game. Anyways, we have a lot of ideas for games. I have to make some of these actually happen. I need a new career probably, because the internet's going to be destroyed by AI, and I have to find something else to do, because it's going to absolutely kill my entire income. Maybe I'll just switch to YouTube completely. I just need a few more subscribers than the 19,500, so feel free to like and subscribe and all that. Anyways, Disney fired her. There was a lot of controversy around this. For one thing, should you be fired because of some tweets, just because it offended a few people? I don't think so. I think that absolutely somebody should have taken her aside and been like, dude, just stop tweeting so much about politics. Like, we don't want this image for our brand. Like, tone it down. You're allowed to have these views. Just let's not do this so publicly. I think everyone in Hollywood, whether they're a liberal or a conservative, should have their Twitter taken away from them. But whatever, I know people are going to argue with me about that, and I respect your opinion. I understand, like, people should have a right to say whatever they want. They should have a right to talk about politics. I certainly talk about politics, even though it's not my job, so maybe I'm a hypocrite. But in this case, I think her tweet was stupid, and she shouldn't have made it. And I think it was even worse that Disney fired her for it. For one thing, Disney has been trying really hard to give us likable female characters in their Star Wars and Marvel efforts, and they've been having a pretty difficult time doing that. There's the problem with having so many of the boss girl types, and one of the big problems with boss girls is that even if they're not the star of the show or the movie, they tend to overshadow the actual star of the movie. And we've seen this in things like Obi-Wan Kenobi, where Obi-Wan was massively overshadowed by the female characters in that show. It would be bad if he was overshadowed. I mean, he was overshadowed also by the Mandalorian himself in his own show, and that was just bad TV, right? And Boba Fett was a pretty unremarkable character. If you want to see Tamara Morrison in something else, I highly recommend Chief of War on Apple TV. It's Jason Momoa's new show, and it takes place in Hawaii. during kind of the colonial period, but it's about the several different warring tribes in Hawaii, and it's like very epic, very violent historical drama. It's really good. And it actually portrays indigenous people as actual humans, not as like the noble savage trope. They're actually like manipulative and warlike and violent, and have a hierarchical power structure with kings and peasants and all the rest. It's great. It's honestly, it's just fantastic. But I'm on a sidetrack here. I should make another video about that show, actually. Today, or this week, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, Disney and Carano settled this lawsuit. Now, you're going to see other YouTube videos and headlines and different people saying that Carano won. Yeah, she won because Disney had to pay out, but it's not like this went to court and she won in court. This was settled out of court, so we don't know the details, because when something's settled, it's not public information. So we don't know exactly what Disney's agreed to. They've released a statement, you know, all lovey-dovey about her, and they look forward to working with her again in the future. And she's released a statement, you know, it's all very cordial now that the money's been paid over, whatever that was. And so yes, that's a victory for her, for Elon Musk, for her lawyers. Obviously, if you can settle something like this, you do want to do that rather than go to court and risk losing. But, you know, I wish it had, so that we could have actually, you know, we had more information, obviously. It would be nice to know exactly what she won, what the framework of this is, and whether or not Disney is actually going to work with her again in any sort of meaningful way. But a thought occurred to me. Wouldn't it be cool if she could be in The Mandalorian and Grogu, the upcoming, hopefully, pray to God, Jon Favreau movie? Pray to God it's good. But it's already filmed, so that doesn't seem like a possibility. However, another thought occurred to me. At the end of so many Disney movies, there are hidden scenes, post-credit scenes. This would be a really good opportunity to bring Cara Dune back. Now, Cara Dune was, of course, this Republic trooper, special ops trooper. I don't remember exactly I haven't watched The Mandalorian in years. Season 3 was so bad that I've kind of like shoved it out of my memory, honestly. But she was a great character, and I'm so sidetracked, aren't I? She was a great character, and it was a shame that they got rid of her, not just because of how messy and ugly the whole thing was, but also because Disney's been trying to get good female characters, and they've had such a lot of trouble because of this the girl boss trope. That's where I got sidetracked. And she was a good, strong female character that didn't overshadow the protagonist. Like, somehow they were able to write this character in as a badass, super strong, powerful, physically daunting female character who was also likable, who worked with the protagonist instead of trying to show him up. She didn't need to prove anything. She didn't need to prove that she was tough by making the hero look bad. All the stuff we've seen in everything from She-Hulk to Obi-Wan Kenobi and on down the line, where these female characters are introduced and end up being so unlikable. They, you know, or you even have like female villains introduced, like in Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Inquisitor chick, whose name I have totally forgotten because she's a pretty forgettable character. They bring in this kind of character and give her the redemptive arc and give her all of this attention, when really we just wanted an Obi-Wan Kenobi show. So Cara Dune was a breath of fresh air. Disney's only other really remarkable success with female characters in recent years, I would say, is in Andor, where there's a bunch of great female characters, especially Dedra Meero, who is a bad guy through and through from start to finish, but also a complex villain. Like, you admire many of her qualities, but she's unflinchingly bad. Like, you don't get to the end and have a Dedra Meero, sorry, spoilers for Andor, you don't get like a redemption arc for her. And I think that's wonderful, because not all villains should get redemption arcs. And one of the problems that Disney's had is pulling its punches when it comes to minority characters, female characters, rather than giving them full characterization, rather than giving them actual, like, letting them just be evil. They always pull their punches. Not always, but often. They often do. So why not put Cara Dune into a post-credit scene at the end of Mandalorian and Grogu? This would be a show of good faith, an olive branch, if you will. This would give her a way back in to Star Wars and give fans a character back that they really miss. Now, obviously, because she's a controversial figure, lots of Star Wars fans do not miss her, and lots of them would rather not ever watch anyone who's conservative on a movie or a show. And of course, conservatives feel the same way about people like Pedro Pascal, and a lot of people are just tired of seeing Pedro Pascal and everything. But this is the problem with being so overtly political. You alienate fans from one side or the other. But I think overall it would be a healing gesture. And it would be even better if she was reintroduced in a post-credit scene in Mandalorian and Grogu. And then we learned through that they were going to make a new show with her in it, whether that's another season of Mandalorian or whether that's a totally different show. She was supposed to be in something before all this controversy and before she was fired. There was going to be a spin-off show with her in it, and it wouldn't have to be the same thing, but bring her back. Actually do it. Don't just have this, the PR statement saying you're going to do it. Don't just have the little show, say, the show of good faith. Actually, like make it happen. Put her in something, and give her a character back, because she was, I'm not going to lie and say I thought she was like the greatest actress ever. Like, she's all right. She's fine. She did the role really well. Like, she was likable. She was charming. She was tough. And she's not going to win any awards for that, but she was an enjoyable character. And I think it's great that we have Star Wars with tough female characters. They've just done a really bad job writing most of these. So bringing back Gina Carano in the Mandalorian secret or post-credit scene would be a huge step forward for Disney in sort of mending relations with fans. There's obviously so much more they need to do, because so much of Star Wars has been bad. Outside of really the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian and the 2 seasons of Andor and like Rogue One, and honestly, I liked The Force Awakening. The Force Awakening. Yeah. Oh, that sounded weird when I said it. The Force is Awakening. I liked that. It was really the only good movie of the 3, but it was super derivative of A New Hope, and that's just J.J. Abrams for you. Why they got J.J. Abrams to do Star Trek and Star Wars is just baffling to me. It makes no sense. His star, I wish it had fallen sooner than it did, because it's just tragic. The whole Star Wars sequel trilogy is so tragic. So is the prequel trilogy, though. I am not one of these people retconning the prequels. They still suck ass. And I think it's like, if you were born after if you were a kid when they came out, you probably like them. And if you were an adult when they came out, you probably don't. It really is a generational thing. Go figure. Anyways, that's the news there. I think it's positive. I think overall, I like to see the shift, and I don't think it's an endorsement of, anything that Carano said. I think it's more a condemnation of what Disney did in response. They, if they wanted her gone, they should have just written her character out in season 3. Have her go out in a blaze of glory. Give her a good exit. Not what they ended up doing, which is just firing her, and off she went. Her character was just over. I think, I don't think that's why season 3 sucked so bad. Season 3 sucked because it did the whole thing where, other characters overshadowed the main character. This, it went, big into all these other plots, and Mando and Grogu were kind of sidelined. I think the problem started sooner than that, though. Grogu coming back during Boba Fett was a huge mistake. I would not have been opposed to the Mandalorian and Grogu meeting back up, because they're a great little team. But doing it in a separate show, and really just like moments after they split up, when Grogu was taken off by Luke Skywalker, that was just such chicken shit. That was just the worst kind of chicken shit writing you can come up with. They're like, how can we sell this show if Grogu's not part of it? And it's like, well, make that the quest. Like, make them reuniting like a big part of where they go in season 3. And instead, it was just all over the place with stupid cameos and just really poorly written episodes. And oh God, I think I watched the first season like 3 or 4 times, and I watched the second season probably twice. And the third season, I watched every episode once, and then I just tried to rinse my brain of it. It was so bad. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that. So thank you for watching. Like, subscribe. Let me know what you think of this whole lawsuit. and Disney settling what it means. What do you think it means for the future of Star Wars? Is this a sign of positive change? Is this a sign that, maybe, I think we're already moving away from cancel culture. It always amuses me that people are like, cancel culture isn't real. And then you point to like this situation with Gina Carano, and it's like, how is cancel culture not real? Look what happened to her. She was absolutely canceled. Although I will say that true cancel culture is only for the group that is only done by the group that you're a part of. So if you're a part of the left, the only people that can really cancel you really are your fellow lefties. And, we saw this with Milo Yiannopoulos on the right. The left tried to cancel him constantly and never worked until the right canceled him. And he was pretty much canceled by his own group. So that's really what cancel culture is. But I still think, like, if you get someone fired because you're pissed off about their tweets, that also qualifies as cancel culture. And it's ugly. It's ugly. We should definitely reserve that kind of shame and punitive bullshit for really, really serious instances of wrongdoing. And there's plenty of those to go around. So I don't think we need to be so bloodthirsty that we go after people because we disagree with their politics. They're fairly relatively mild political disagreements with us. And also I think that you have better luck changing people's minds with compassionate behavior than with punitive behavior. You can scare people into submission, absolutely, and that goes on all the time, right? It's this question: is it better to be feared or loved? And I think that in the short term, fear is extremely, extremely powerful. And in the short term, you can absolutely create a climate of fear where people are backing down and people are not saying the things that they believe because they're worried that they're going to be fired or canceled or dogpiled, or that their show is going to be canceled because the president is pissed off. There's a climate of fear that has an effect in the short term. But I think, when you ask that question, is it better to be feared or loved, that like, if you can convince people of whatever it is that your cause is, whether that's trans rights or, universal health care or balancing the budget, I think ultimately, like, fear only goes so far, and you have to convince people in a way that appeals to their better nature. So that's all I have to say about that. I promise I'm done now. Thank you for watching. Peace.